A Course in Miracles, Lesson 186. Salvation of the world depends on me. Here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. Here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own but that which has been given you. It offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. It does not judge your proper role. It but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring it to heaven's peace. There comes a line in every play when the actor forgets it's a play at all. They speak the lines so often, so deeply they think they wrote them. But now the cue has come, and the line is this: salvation of the world depends on me. It doesn't sound like a stage direction, but it is. Because this is the moment the actor puts down the script the ego wrote, and remembers the role assigned by the director of love. To say this line with humility means to stop improvising. Stop insisting you should have been cast differently. Stop rewriting the scenes out of fear or pride. True humility is when the actor steps forward not to steal the spotlight, but to serve the whole production with grace. Not to claim center stage, but to remember that the entire play is for awakening, not performance. The ego told you to ad-lib your way through the dream, to demand a better role, a bigger arc, a more tragic backstory. But this one line cancels all of that. Because it doesn't come from the dream, it comes from the voice off stage. It unites every character who ever forgot their cue. Every castmate lost in costume, thinking the mask was their face. This is the moment the curtain starts to lift. Not to reveal a new scene, but to show there never was a stage at all. Only the memory of heaven, waiting in the wings. And so you speak the line, not as a character, but as the light beneath the role. The actor who is awakened and knows, I was never lost in the story, I just believed I was. Let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. All that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility, and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. What is given us to do, we have the strength to do. Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. Let us not fight our function. The actor who argues with the role delays the scene, stands frozen on stage clutching the wrong script, forgets that they were cast by the director, not to suffer, but to remember. You did not invent this role. You were chosen for it before the stage was ever built. And the only thing you are asked to do is show up with honesty and say, I'm willing to play my part as it was written in light. That is humility, not shrinking, not silence, but the courage to stop pretending you're unworthy of the spotlight love gave you. The ego plays coy, says you're not good enough to speak the sacred lines. But that's just pride in disguise, a self-deceiving arrogance that says, I know myself better than the one who cast me. How could you be unworthy of a role given by God? How could the script of salvation not belong to you when your name is already written on every page? Your function is not heroic in the way the world defines it. It is honest, quiet, surrendered. You walk on stage not to prove, but to remember. Not to act, but to allow what is true to move through you. What is given us to do, we have the strength to do. Because the strength comes not from the costume, not from the mask. It comes from the self behind the curtain, the one who never forgot the truth, even while the character did. Your mind is suited perfectly, not by effort but by design. You are the exact one needed in this scene. not because of talent but because of willingness. So step forward. Say the line not with trembling but with trust, not as the character but as the light that agreed to play this part. Because salvation depends not on acting well, but on remembering none of it is real, and still showing up to love anyway. Today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. All it says is that your Father still remembers you and offers you the perfect trust He holds in you who are His Son. It does not ask that you be different in any way from what you are. What could humility request but this? And what could arrogance deny but this? Today we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call for God Himself. Today's idea may seem sobering, like a line in the script that startles the actor awake. It may feel too heavy, too serious, too demanding. Until you understand what it really means, the director never forgot you. You are still remembered, still trusted, still held in perfect certainty by the one who cast you. He is not asking you to change your costume. He is not waiting for a better performance. He is simply calling you to remember who you are beneath the role. What could humility ask for but this? Not that you earn your place on stage. Not that you master your lines or outshine your castmates, but that you accept the role already written into your being. And what could arrogance deny but this? The ego says, I am not worthy to be chosen. But that's not humility, that's a specious modesty. It wears the mask of meekness, but it's really pride in a softer costume. Because pride isn't always loud and boastful. Sometimes it hides in the shadows, whispering, I must achieve before I can receive, I must prove before I can be loved. But God's call is not to the proud character. It is to the actor beneath the role. The one who was never unworthy to begin with. Today we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is offended. We will not say, who, me, as if God dialed the wrong number. It is not humility to reject your function. It is fear pretending to be polite. Pride is not just puffed up vanity. It is also the deep, subtle satisfaction we get from clinging to the identity we made. The small delight in being the struggling character, rather than surrendering to the light behind the mask. But today we say no more. No more fascination with false roles. No more shrinking from the truth in the name of modesty. You are called not because of your greatness, but because of your realness. And your role now is not to improve the play, but to help everyone wake up and leave the theater. All false humility we lay aside today, that we may listen to God's voice reveal to us what He would have us do. We do not doubt our adequacy for the function He will offer us. We will be certain only that He knows our strengths, our wisdom, and our holiness. And if He deems us worthy, so we are. It is but arrogance that judges otherwise. All false humility we lay aside today. Like old props no longer needed for the scene. Like understudy scripts marked up with fear and self-doubt. We drop them at the edge of the stage because the director has handed us the real script now. False humility plays small for applause. It says, I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. Let someone else take the part. It is the actor refusing the spotlight, not because they aren't needed, but because they're still convinced the role belongs to someone greater. But the voice of God does not audition candidates. He casts from truth, not from performance. He does not select based on how well you've rehearsed the ego's lines. He calls on what He created, holy, whole, and ready. Today we choose to listen for that voice, to let it tell us what scene is next, what lines to speak, what gesture of love to offer, what quiet miracle to extend without fanfare. We do not doubt our adequacy for the function he gives, because the actor he sees is not the one trembling in costume. He sees the original, before the makeup, before the mask, before the script went sideways. He knows your strengths because he placed them there. He knows your wisdom because he shared his mind with you. He knows your holiness because he created it, not as a trait, but as your entire being. And if he deems you worthy, who are you to argue? What arrogance could override the casting choice of God himself? Only the ego would say, "Not me." Only the small voice of fear would look at a perfect part and say, "I'm not enough." But today we lay all that down. The false modesty, the shyness pretending to be spiritual, the shrinking disguised as virtue. You've been given your cue, beloved. Not because you are more than others, but because you are exactly as God created you. And the only humility left now is to take the stage and let the light speak through you. There is one way, and only one, to be released from the imprisonment your plan to prove the false is true has brought to you. Accept the plan you did not make instead. Judge not your value to it. If God's voice assures you that salvation needs your part, and that the whole depends on you, be sure that it is so. The arrogant must cling to words, afraid to go beyond them to experience which might affront their stance. Yet are the humble free to hear the voice which tells them what they are and what to do. There is only one way out of this dream. Only one exit from the stage where you've been trying to prove the role you wrote is real. You've spent so long improvising tragedy and calling it truth. So long trying to convince yourself that the mask fits. But it doesn't. And today, you're invited to stop defending the character and accept the script you didn't write, the plan you didn't make, the part you didn't cast yourself in but were chosen for from the beginning. Judge not your value to the plan. Don't stand in front of the director, questioning whether you're qualified to be in the final act. If the voice of God says salvation needs your part, then trust the casting is perfect. If the whole depends on you, it is not because you are more, it is because you are willing. The arrogant must cling to words. They hide in long monologues, afraid that silence will strip the role away and show them who they really are. They fear the experience behind the script, because to feel that much love would ruin the performance of separation. But the humble are different. They are not stuck in the dressing room rehearsing lines. They walk quietly onto the stage, not because they are fearless, but because they trust the voice in their ear. They hear the cue and they respond. They don't need to understand the whole production. They just show up for their scene and let light do the work. Because the voice tells them not only what to do, but who they are. Sinless, lovable, eternal, joyous, unchanged by any role they've ever played. This is the voice that calls the actor out of the role. This is the voice that says, you were never the mask, you were always the light behind it. So today we listen, not to the echo of old lines, but to the stillness where our true name is spoken, and where the curtain begins to rise, not on a stage, but on eternity. Arrogance makes an image of yourself that is not real. It is this image which quails and retreats in terror, as the voice for God assures you that you have the strength, the wisdom and the holiness to go beyond all images. You are not weak, as is the image of yourself. You are not ignorant and helpless. Sin cannot tarnish the truth in you, and misery can come not near the holy home of God. Arrogance makes an image of yourself that is not real. It's the character you built from scraps of memory, fear, and comparison. You dressed it in flaws, painted it with guilt, and then believed it was you. But it is not you. It is only a costume. And when the voice for God whispers your real name, that image begins to tremble, because it knows it cannot survive the truth. It quails and retreats in terror as the director speaks from backstage, telling you that you have the strength, the wisdom, and the holiness to go beyond all roles. The ego's actor is weak, always doubting, always waiting for applause, always hoping someone else will validate the performance. But you are not that image. You are not the lines you've rehearsed or the fears you've memorized. You are not ignorant and helpless, though the part you've been playing sometimes looks that way. But a role is not a self. It is only a mask that served a temporary illusion. Sin, what the world calls missing the mark, cannot touch what God created. It can distort the character, but not the light beneath the stage. Misery may play its scene, but it cannot step foot near the holy home of God. And that home is not far away. It is in you behind the curtain, within the quiet mind that's ready to come off script. So today, we remember this. You are not the frightened image that wants to hide in the wings. You are the actor awakening on stage, realizing the spotlight is not judgment, but love. And the voice that calls you is not casting blame, but casting you back into the truth. All this the voice for God relates to you. And as he speaks, the image trembles and seeks to attack the threat it does not know, sensing its basis crumble. Let it go. Salvation of the world depends on you, and not upon this little pile of dust. What can it tell the Holy Son of God? Why need he be concerned with it at all? All this the voice of God relates to you. He speaks, not in thunder but in stillness. And every time he does, the image you made begins to tremble on its stage. The mask senses something deeper stirring beneath it. The costume feels the seams start to split, because the part you've been playing cannot stand in the presence of the truth you've begun to hear. The ego's actor feels threatened, not because the voice harms it, but because it knows its whole foundation is crumbling. It senses it was never real, and so it flails, it fights, it seeks to attack the light that only ever came to free it. Let it go, beloved. Let the mask fall. Let the trembling pass. Let the false identity dissolve like stage smoke in the morning sun. The salvation of the world does not depend on the frightened lines of the ego's character. It depends on the you who remembers, the you who steps out of costume and lets the light speak through them. It does not depend on the little pile of dust you call a body. That's just the prop, a temporary shell used to tell a story that was never true. What can it tell the Holy Son of God? What can dust say to light? What can a stage whisper mean to eternity? You are not the pile. You are not the prop. You are the actor awakening mid-scene, hearing the call that says, "Come back to the green room of God. You were never lost, only dreaming." So don't look to the body for instructions. Don't wait for the script of suffering to change. Just hear the voice and let the play fall away in the light of what you are. And so we find our peace. We will accept the function God has given us, for all illusions rest upon the weird belief that we can make another for ourselves. Our self-made roles are shifting, and they seem to change from mourner to ecstatic bliss of love and loving. We can laugh or weep and greet the day with welcome or with tears. Our very being seems to change as we experience 1,000 shifts in mood, and our emotions raise us high indeed or dash us to the ground in hopelessness. And so we find our peace, not by fixing the scene, but by remembering we were never the character at all. We will accept the function God has given us. Because all the world's sorrow rests on this one strange belief, that we could make a self apart from what God created, that we could write our own script, cast ourselves in a drama of separation, and call it life. These self-made roles, they shift like costumes thrown across a dim-lit stage. One moment the actor weeps, the next they fall in love with a shadow. One day they mourn, the next they dance beneath a spotlight that isn't even real. And we believed every one of them. We greeted the day in grief or in joy, thinking it was me who rose or fell. But it was only the mask responding to the script, the character reacting to the dream. Our moods changed with the music. Our identity rose and fell with the applause or the silence. We were taken high by illusion and dashed low by the very same thing, never realizing we were always seated behind the curtain. But now we begin to see, these shifts are not truth. They are the echoes of a role that was never ours to keep. And beneath every costume, every false identity, peace remains untouched. Not because we earned it, but because we never left it. And today we begin to remember not just the light behind the mask, but the stillness that holds the entire stage. And that stillness is what we are. Is this the Son of God? Could he create such instability and call it Son? He who is changeless shares his attributes with his creation. All the images his Son appears to make have no effect on what he is. They blow across his mind like windswept leaves that form a pattern in an instant, break apart to group again and scamper off. Or like mirages seen above a desert rising from the dust. Is this the Son of God? This flickering image, this unstable character, this actor caught in endless mood swings, rewriting scenes from fear. Could he who is changeless create a self like this and call it Son? Instability is not divine. It's the mark of something made, not created. It's the sign of a script that keeps changing, because it was never true to begin with. Think of all the instability in the roles you've played. One moment grieving, the next ecstatic, then doubtful, then proud, then terrified again. 1,000 costumes in a single act, 1,000 faces chasing a single name. But he who is changeless shares his changelessness. If God is steady, certain, eternal, then so are you. Not the you made for the play, but the you that remained behind the curtain, watching gently, never shifting. All the images his Son appears to make, the villain, the victim, the savior, the failure, have no effect on what he is. They are just theater. Stage fog and lighting tricks. They blow across his mind like leaves in a breeze. They gather, form a pattern, then break apart and scatter again across the stage. They are like mirages in the desert. They rise from the dust of the body's belief, dance in the heat of the ego's need for drama, and vanish when love appears. Not one of them alters what is true. Not one touches the still center of the Son of God. So let the wind blow. Let the leaves dance and let the mirage shimmer and disappear. And know that behind every image, the one true self remains untouched, changeless, and free. These unsubstantial images will go and leave your mind unclouded and serene when you accept the function given you. The images you make give rise to but conflicting goals, impermanent and vague, uncertain and ambiguous. Who could be constant in his efforts or direct his energies and concentrated drive toward goals like these? The functions which the world esteems are so uncertain that they change 10 times an hour at their most secure. What hope of gain can rest on goals like this? These unsubstantial images will go. They cannot stay when you accept the real function assigned by the one who knows you. When you stop choosing your role from the ego's casting table, the stage begins to empty. and your mind becomes unclouded. Serene like a theater after the curtain falls, when all the spotlights dim and silence returns to its rightful place. The images you made gave rise to nothing but confusion, conflicting goals, impermanent desires, unclear scripts. Be famous, but stay humble. Get rich, but be spiritual. Win love, but don't show need. Be unique, but not too different. Be productive, but find balance. These are the roles the ego assigns. Shifting. Contradictory. Impossible to play with any piece. And still the world calls them success. It calls these self-made parts achievement, ambition, purpose, and growth. But what are the functions the world esteems? Be the best. Be the smartest. Be beautiful. Be respected. Be in control. Be admired by others who are also pretending. Even the noble ones change by the hour. Be a helper but not a burden. Be a leader but don't fail. Be a parent but never lose your identity. Be spiritual but don't upset the norms. 10 times an hour, the world rewrites the goalpost. Even at its most secure, it offers you a moving target. And you run across the stage, changing costumes again and again, never asking who assigned this play to begin with. But your real function does not shift. It doesn't waver. It doesn't contradict itself. It calls for no masks, only willingness. And so what hope of gain can rest on goals like these the ego offers? None that last, none that satisfy. Only the function God gave you will return you to yourself. Only that role ends the play, because it was never about performance, but about remembering the stage was never real. In lovely contrast, certain as the sun's return each morning to dispel the night, your truly given function stands out clear and wholly unambiguous. There is no doubt of its validity. It comes from one who knows no error, and his voice is certain of its messages. They will not change, nor be in conflict. All of them point to one goal, and one you can attain. Your plan may be impossible, but God's can never fail because He is its source. In loving contrast, so gentle, so certain, your true function stands clear today. It is not a mystery role, not a puzzle to solve, not a shifting goal that changes with every scene. It is as certain as the sun's return. It dispels the night of confusion like morning light breaks over an empty stage. Every spotlight dims in comparison to the clarity of this one holy cue. Accept the part given you by God and play it in peace. There is no ambiguity in this function, no tension between one scene and the next, no confusion about the script or the costume. It comes from the director who knows no error. His voice doesn't stammer. His message doesn't shift with public opinion. It speaks one goal, one light, one call. Be what you are and remember what cannot change. This is the message to you, mighty companion. You are not here to become. You are here to remember. You are not here to perform, but to undo the belief that you ever needed to. God's messages will not change. They will not contradict each other. They won't tell you one thing on Monday and another on Tuesday morning. They all point to one thing: the quiet return to yourself as God created you. No applause needed, no climax required. Anything that comes from God is whole. It is unified, and it cannot be lost. And because it is unified, it is attainable. Not by striving, but by surrendering all false roles you thought you had to play. Your plan, to rewrite yourself, to earn your role, to craft an identity from broken pieces, was impossible. But God's plan, it cannot fail, because He is the source. And the source does not play games with His creations. He only calls them home one by one, until every actor remembers they were never on stage at all. Do as God's voice directs. And if it asks a thing of you which seems impossible, remember who it is that asks and who would make denial. Then consider this, which is more likely to be right. The voice that speaks for the Creator of all things, who knows all things exactly as they are, or a distorted image of yourself, confused, bewildered, inconsistent, and unsure of everything. Let not its voice direct you. Hear instead a certain voice which tells you of a function given you by your Creator who remembers you and urges that you now remember Him. Do as God's voice directs. Even if it seems impossible, unfamiliar, or too big for the part you think you're playing. And if the cue seems too high for you to reach, remember, who is it that asks, and who is it that resists? One is the director of the entire production. The one who cast you before the idea of time was ever scripted. The one who knows exactly what role belongs to you because he wrote it with your name in it. And the other, just a distorted image of yourself, a confused understudy that forgot it's not in charge. A bewildered mask, unsure of every step, uncertain of every line, haunted by the fear that it doesn't belong on stage at all. So which voice is more likely to be right? The voice that speaks for the Creator of all things, who sees all things exactly as they are? Or the frightened echo of a character you made up, one that doubts, delays, defends, and never trusts the cue? Let not this small voice guide your steps. Let not the ego's director whisper from behind the curtains of guilt and fear. Hear instead the certain voice, the one that remembers who you are beneath the costume, the one that urges you not to perform but to recall. He tells you of a function given by your Creator, not earned, not bargained for, given because God remembers you. And all He asks is that you remember Him, not in grand gestures or emotional drama, but in this quiet willingness to say, I will listen, I will follow, I will play the part love gave me. And when you do, the curtain will not fall, it will rise. And what it reveals is not an ending, but the truth that was always waiting backstage. His gentle voice is calling from the known to the unknowing. He would comfort you, although He knows no sorrow. He would make a restitution, though He is complete, a gift to you, although He knows that you have everything already. He has thoughts which answer every need His Son perceives, although He sees them not. For love must give, and what is given in His name takes on the form most useful in a world of form. His gentle voice is calling from the place of knowing to the one who has forgotten, from the quiet green room of eternity to the noisy stage of temporary roles. He doesn't shout. He doesn't demand that you come home. He meets you where you think you are, in the role you believe you're still playing. He speaks comfort, even though He knows no sorrow. He speaks peace, even though He's never known war. He gives restitution, not because He lacks wholeness, but because you forgot you were whole. It is a gift from one who knows you already have everything. But love still gives because love cannot do anything else. He has thoughts, radiant and quiet, which answer every need His Son perceives. Even if those needs are not real, even if those needs are based on illusions, He still answers. Not because He sees the need as true, but because He knows how deep your belief runs. Love must give. And what is given in His name takes on the form most useful in a world of form. So He appears in stories, in symbols, in dreams, as Jesus on a cross, as light in the eyes of a friend, as a whisper in the quiet of your heart, not because God believes in the play, but because He knows you still do. And He'll use every costume in the theater to remind you, you're not the actor, you're the light behind the stage. This is the mercy of God, beyond cool, beyond comprehension. It just is. And because it is, you can stop pretending you're lost and simply answer the call that's been with you all along. These are the forms which never can deceive because they come from formlessness itself. Forgiveness is an earthly form of love, which as it is in heaven has no form. Yet what is needed here is given here as it is needed. In this form you can fulfill your function even here, although what love will mean to you when formlessness has been restored to you is greater still. Salvation of the world depends on you who can forgive. Such is your function here. These are the forms that never deceive, because they come from formlessness itself. They are shaped by love, but not confined by it. They step into the play not to reinforce the dream, but to gently undo it. Forgiveness, oh beloved, forgiveness is an earthly form of love. It is what love becomes when it walks the stage of illusion, when it bends low enough to meet the actor still lost in their lines. In heaven, love has no form. It simply is. It doesn't need a word or a gesture. It doesn't undo because there's nothing to undo. But here, where dreams of separation still flicker, love takes form as forgiveness. The quiet pause in the scene. The breath between lines where everything false can fall away. Forgiveness is the light cue in the play. The moment the spotlight shifts, not to highlight the actor's mistake, but to reveal the truth behind the mask. What is needed here is given here. And because you still believe in time, in space, in form, forgiveness meets you in that very belief and gently leads you out. In this form, you can fulfill your function even here. You can look at the stage, the scene, the drama, and forgive the entire production. Forgive that you ever thought you had to write the script. Forgive that you ever believed the play was real. Forgive the director you made in fear. Forgive the cast, the costumes, the tragic monologues. Forgive the world its stage, and release it because no one was ever really bound. When the formless is restored to your awareness, love will mean something far beyond what words can carry. But until then, this is your gift. You can forgive. Salvation of the world depends on you, not because you're special, but because you're willing. You can forgive, and that is everything. Such is your function here. Not to perform, but to free. Not to judge, but to remember. And in your remembrance, let the curtain rise on truth, where no roles remain, and only love is left on the stage.